her say some things about her life. So Marilyn Jane Stelton was born in Lindsay, California. She was a sixth-generation Californian. She was the oldest of two daughters. Her younger sister was Barbara Ann, sitting over there. In her early years was kind of like uncertain times, because it was, Germany, and from 1933 to 1945. And then after that was the Korean War. And so times were kind of like with a global conflict. When she was about 18 months old, she started to wear eyeglasses. And then later on in her childhood, she became very sick and was confined to her room. There she read a lot of books. Actually, she was like a very speed reader, because I couldn't believe it, she could read a paperback in one day. There she read lots of books, and also because she had an eye condition, she was able to see a lot more of the movies than other children, because the doctor wanted her to wear an eye patch on one eye and go to a movie theater, and then at intermission she'd go out and she'd put it on the other eye as an eye treatment for her. She said that when she was young, she was given a rabbit as a child, and she really didn't much care for that rabbit because it would scratch her too much. But one night, her father cooked a rabbit for the family dinner, and she refused to eat it. And then she told me that when she went to boarding school, every Sunday they would eat rabbit. And she said her entire life she would just not eat rabbit at all. Later on, she went to USC, the University of California, Trojans, where she studied. This is where she met James LaRue, our father, James LaRue Teel. They were introduced by family friends, and while in the sorority, he was serving in the Army. He would come as far as Yuma, Arizona to visit her. And one day she decided to cook James a lemon pie. And in the pantry, there was a big canister jar containing what looked like sugar. She thought it was sugar, but actually it was salt. And James loved her so much, he ate that pie. And on their first date, he told her he was going to marry her. And she said, "I don't even know you." And they were later married on July 18, 1953. Before they were married, James and his father built their first house in Intact, California, as a wedding gift. And they lived there, and they had Alice Louise. James worked in the oil field, and one night he had a terrible fall off the oil derrick. He didn't tell Marilyn how terrible the fall was until 10 years or so after. After that fall, they sold their house and moved to San Jose, where James went to San Jose State University and later became a teacher as well. When they arrived in San Jose at their new home, the preacher from Green Valley Christian Church was sitting on their porch, waiting for them. They were founding members of Green Valley Church. James helped build the church sanctuary, with other members of the church. Marilyn had started her teaching career in Buttonwillow, California, and 37 years later retired from her teaching career. She retired from Cadwalader School in the San Jose with perfect attendance. Both Marilyn and James were teachers, and James taught at Toyon School. and was also taught at other Berryessa schools. During the summer vacations, they would take long trips in the United States and Europe and British Isles. They loved vacationing in Hawaii and going to Disneyland. My mom had traveled to all but 6 U.S. states. Marilyn and James were always together. They were always volunteering any way possible. They would be present and participate. They would show up. They were there to clean up in the kitchen. They were there for camp. They would transport children. They were available for any type of volunteering. They would spend their summers sometimes helping out the church camp kitchen. They did little things like collecting Pop-Tarts for Ronald McDonald House. They also collected the box tops for the Indian reservation, where they were able to get a van with those little, like those little box tops. They bought a van. They donated money to various organizations to help them out. They planted daffodils. All these things touched the hearts of so many. They were very active in the senior group at church and at the Berryessa Center and the prayer group. Okay, now, she had 4 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. So that's how she kind of got the name G. But when she'd sign it, she'd sign G. Marilyn was, now I'm gonna talk a little bit about her health. She survived a tumor the size of a dinner plate. She survived colon cancer. She had a meningioma the size of a golf ball in her brain that affected her ability to walk. 6 years ago, she had heart failure and was able to take medication to maintain her life because her heart was like at 25%. And then I think it got back up to about 50%. And I believe one of the medications she was on was Lipitor, and I think one of her students had something to do with the creation of Lipitor. And she was married for 55 years, 2 months, and 26 days. And let's see, my sister already talked about the yarn spinners, and the yarn spinners. So she joined the yarn spinners after our dad passed away in 2008, October 14, 2008, and she crocheted many baby blankets and hats, and it was very important that she gave a baby a blanket so that when the baby would come home from the hospital, it would have something to be swaddled in, and that was really important to her. When she passed away, she was 92 years, 6 months, and 13 days old. And she passed away and she was surrounded by her family. Unfortunately, she got septic shock, and that's what happened. It was sad. She was separated from our father by 14 and a half years. She was married for 55 years, 2 months, and 26 days. So anyway, I love my mom dearly. And she was the foundation of our family, her and our father. And they're over there together. And they're in heaven together now. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you.